Hello, this is the Happy Families podcast. What is it with our attention spans? Are they getting worse? Is short-form video content pushed into our lives by algorithms making our ability to focus on anything diminish? Is there any science that can help us? What's going on with kids and school and their ability to focus? Is it just us? Is it a sign of the times? Is it our brains? Is tech the reason that everything is falling apart? Today, it's a Doctor's Desk episode of the Happy Families podcast where we have a look at a brand new study published in Nature, one of the world's leading science journals. Some researchers have been unpacking attention spans. Goldfish? I wonder. We find out more next, including how we can help our kids to pay more attention. Oh, and us too. It's right after this. Stay with us. Hello, welcome to the Happy Families podcast where you get real parenting solutions every single day. It's Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson. We're the parents of 6 children whose attention spans sometimes trouble us, sometimes concern us. Having said that, Kylie, I just started talking and I feel like I lost you as well. Are you with me? Have I got you for this Doctor's Desk episode fully attentive and on board?
No, you lost me.
You're giving me
You lost me as soon as you said Doctor's Desk.
You're giving me that look that one of our daughters gives us through the top of the eyes, kind of like, are you really doing this to me? All right, today, a conversation around attention spans. You don't know what this science is about. All you know is the general topic of today's podcast, which means that you get to ask the great questions. But I've got one for you first. What have you heard? What would you understand would be going on with attention spans? What are people talking about when it comes to attention spans now that it's 2026 and the world is so modern and technologically driven?
I would suggest, based on the fact that nearly every other person I speak to is either being diagnosed with ADHD as an adult or has a child being diagnosed with ADHD, that it would seem attention spans are growing smaller and smaller by the day.
Okay, so ADHD, literally, it's in the title, attention deficit.
Yeah.
Hyperactive disorder. So you're suggesting that the world's changing and people just can't concentrate like they used to?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't think it's screens.
Oh, say more.
I just can only go from my own personal experience. And I remember before I was a parent, how attentive I was when I would go to a seminar, for instance. I could sit there and listen to someone speak to me for an hour and a half and be completely engrossed in what they were sharing. Once I became a parent, and I was obviously distracted a lot with a young baby. You needed to be fed, needed to be burped, needed to be changed, needed to stand up and rock or whatever. And I found even once I got past that stage of parenting, I actually no longer could stay focused for that amount of time. Yeah.
So do you think that parenting, exhaustion, the need to worry about the laundry, the cooking, the appointments, the library bag?
I think it's the inability to be in the moment.
Right. Okay. So attention spans are
because
diminishing.
All of those things matter. As a parent and specifically as a mum, from my personal experience, I'm usually somewhere physically, but my mind is going 100 miles an hour thinking about all of the other tasks that need to be completed before I get to sit down for the day.
Do screens have anything to do with attention span reduction as you're hypothesizing?
I definitely think they play a part, but I don't think that they're the cause.
Okay. May I indulge myself with a little bit of Doctor's Desk science?
Go for it.
Okay, here we go. So there's good news and bad news around it. First of all, the narrative that I hear all the time, and I certainly read it in a whole lot of blogs and articles and that sort of thing, is that attention spans are diminishing. People keep on talking about how, thanks to short-form video, we now have the attention span of a goldfish. We can't concentrate on anything for more than about 8 seconds. There's also a whole lot of occupational and organizational psychology work talking about task switching and how, because emails are always coming into our inbox and going ding, and we've got our Slack messages and whatever else, that there's never-ending task switching. And when you get off a task, it takes, depending on who you read and what you have heard, somewhere between 8 and 15 minutes to get back on task. Like, task switching is costly, and we task switch every few minutes, which means that we're never fully on task. The whole premise, therefore, is that our attentional ability is dropping. But I've got good news and I've got bad news.
Well, that sounds like bad news then.
Well, that's the hypothesis. That's what people are saying. The bad news is this. We are very distracted. We're very, 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 very distracted. Some data now suggests that the average adult's checking their phone north of 100 times per day, which is just massive. And in fact, some data I've read suggests it could even be as high as 200 times per day that we're checking our phone. So you talk about attention span. I'm doing something, it's boring me. What am I going to do? I'm going to open up my phone and see if I've got any notifications. And so therefore, the idea is that our attention spans are dropping because we are not able to pay attention. The good news, though, is that there is a very, very big difference between our ability to pay attention and what we actually do in the real world when we're surrounded by distractions. We don't have any good evidence at all that attention spans have declined. In spite of all of the headlines and all the things that people are saying, we're not struggling to pay attention when the environment gives us something that is attention worthy.
Well, you watch a good movie.
Exactly.
For instance, and you can sit there and be fully engaged. You go to a musical and you're at the theatre. You don't have any problems, generally speaking.
People aren't whipping out their phones in the theatre. They sit there and they watch it and they're fully engrossed and engaged. So what the research seems to be suggesting, and there was a brand new study in Nature recently that I'm referring to, but a 2024 meta-analysis 287 studies there spanning 31 years from 1990 to 2021. Showed, again, no change in attention abilities over time. In fact, adults got better at paying attention. So we don't have an attention span problem. We have a distraction problem. We have an environment problem, which means that if people are not paying attention, it's probably more to do with the environment than it is them. And that includes neurodivergence, by the way. I've made no secret on this podcast that I'm very, very hesitant to go too far down the neurodivergence pathway as an answer for everything, as an excuse for everything. I don't pretend that ADHD isn't a thing, but what I argue very strongly is that if we get the environmental conditions right, the symptoms and behaviors associated with ADHD generally disappear, or they're reduced so much that they're no longer causing dysfunction. And what the research here around attention spans is suggesting is exactly the same. We don't have an attention span problem. We don't have an attention disorder. We have an environment challenge. That is, we get distracted because what's going on isn't meeting our attentional needs. Full stop, end of story. So after the break, as we get really into the weeds of this conversation, we're going to talk about what we can do to make our environments less distracting, which means that whether we're neurodivergent or neurotypical, we and our children will be able to provide a greater level of attention, because there's a lower level of distraction, to the stuff that needs to happen. Stay with us. Okay, this is the Happy Families podcast. We're back. Thanks so much for joining us as we have a look at the different ways that we can help to sustain attention, reduce distraction, and keep people focused on the stuff that matters.
So I'm not sure if you know that this is actually a parenting podcast, and telling people to not have children in order to allay distractions is not going to be very helpful.
You're such a joker. Before we talk about how to help attention to work better, help people to stay on task, pay attention, there are 3 different kinds of attention that we really need to talk about.
Well, can you define attention span?
Yeah, so attention span is how long you can do these 3 things. Right. So number 1, sustained attention. That is the ability to stick with something over time. Can I sustain my focus on this thing?
As in a time frame, as in half an hour?
So or 30 seconds.
Or over 6 months?
Oh, no, we're talking about
just
the here and now.
in the moment.
Yes, absolutely. Then there's this thing called selective attention. And that's where I'm able to say, I'm going to prioritize the thing that I'm working on over all the other things that are vying for my focus. So when I'm writing my books and articles, or preparing a podcast for that matter, my ability to say, yes, I know YouTube exists. Yes, I know that podcasts exist. Yes, I know that I've got a bicycle in the corner of my office that is desperate to be read.
You're so funny. Yes, I know the dishes need doing and dinner needs to be cooked, but I've got my sewing machine out and I don't want to pack it away until I'm finished.
You are so good. Right, so there's all these things competing, and selective attention means that I'm going to put all of those things out of my mind and I'm just going to do the one thing that matters most.
I'm really good at that.
So sustained attention and selective attention. I'm selectively sustaining my attention on the one thing that needs to be there. And executive control is sort of an amplifier of all of this. This is how we pay attention, hold the right stuff in our mind, focus on what's important, tune out the distractions and that kind of thing.
Not so good at that.
Well, all of them work together to help us to have an attention span. But that's why we reach for our phone, right? Because if we are thinking, I'm not really into what's going on, I don't want to pay attention to it, I'm feeling a bit distracted, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, I just need a break. Oh, by the way, it's a terrible way to take a break. Your brain doesn't get a break when you pull your phone out. That's what's going on.
It's so interesting. A few weeks ago, we talked about this on the podcast. I surprised you with a date night out.
Yeah.
And we went and did pottery.
Yeah.
And you looked at me like, what are you doing?
Right.
And yet 2 hours disappeared in the blink of an eye.
Lost myself in it.
You didn't think once to pick up your phone.
Oh, no.
You didn't even actually want to have a conversation with me. You were just so engrossed in creating and being right there.
It wasn't much of a date night, was it? When I wouldn't
It
talk
was
to
so
you?
much fun because I got to see you in a completely different light.
Yeah.
Like I get to watch you when you're on stage and you're talking to people and your whole being lights up. Like you love doing what you're doing and you're completely in the moment in that space.
So that's selective attention and sustained attention and a whole lot of executive function going on. Yeah.
But you're really switched on.
Yeah.
This was a totally different experience where it was almost like you were able to switch off.
I was tuned in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So less about me and more about it's interesting as well. When you're doing pottery, you can't pick up your phone.
I tried. I had to get some footage to prove to everybody that you actually did it and enjoyed it.
That's true. But
it did make a mess.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we're running short on time. The takeaway here before we talk about how to create an environment that reduces distraction is simply to say that we are not losing our ability to pay attention. If anything, our attention spans are as good as, if not better than, they ever have been.
Is it because we're filling our lives with things that don't have meaning? Like there's no, it's just all mundane, meaningless tasks that don't.
They're not elevating us. They're not lifting us. They're not bringing us in.
We're putting our time and energy into things that aren't actually fulfilling us.
Right. Yeah. Because it's so funny. You talk to somebody who gets out into the garden and they're like, oh, I can lose a day in the garden. I can lose half a day. I can lose an hour or whatever, because it's one of those things where I'm just going to pay attention to what I'm doing. I'm in the moment and it's so good for us. So I want to just in the last minute or two talk about some strategies for how we can reclaim our attention, reduce distraction.
Can we actually improve it?
I don't think we need to improve our attention span so much as a general rule as get the environment. It will improve simply by making the environment less distracting.
Okay, so we go back to my original statement. When we have children in the house, how do you reduce distraction?
And part of that is also making sure that the tasks you do are the kinds of things that you want to pay attention to. And life is not always like that. There's a whole lot of stuff that we have to do that is not...
Like the dishes and the laundry and cooking and cleaning.
I quite like doing the dishes. I kind of get lost in the sink.
You haven't done them for a while, I'm just saying.
I did them at lunch yesterday. Thank you very much. And there's been a lot going on in our lives lately. I'm feeling a little bit targeted all of a sudden. Kylie, technical strategies. I've removed social media from my devices. It's not on my computer. It's not on my phone. I just don't have access to social media anymore. We still have the social media accounts because the team has to run that for me, but I'm not on there. Not everybody's willing to do that, and that makes sense. But you can turn off your notifications. That makes a huge difference so that you're only getting telephone calls and text messages. They're pretty much the only notifications that I get. I did turn on Slack because sometimes the team needs me and I do have to be responsive to my team. But fortunately, that's not a major distraction. You can block distracting websites. I use the Freedom app on my phone. Well, I don't need to use it anymore because I've gotten rid of all the distractions, but the Freedom app and similar kinds of things are useful. We've given our daughter a dumb phone, and that's been really helpful as well.
Well, it's not even a dumb phone. It's a landline.
Well, she's got a landline, yeah. So that works really well. There's a bunch of things that you can do behaviorally. I really like the whole, I'm just going to work really solidly for the next 25 minutes or 45 minutes or 85 minutes, and then I'm going to give myself a 5-minute break or a 15-minute break. So you just say, no distractions until this task is done.
I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. It's on Do Not Disturb most of the time.
Great one. Yep. Another thing that I find is really, really good is that if you just do what you're doing, but do it in a new location. So you kind of get used to all the things that can distract you in one environment. So go to another environment and just focus. I used to do this when I was writing or doing my doctorate. I would go to the library at the university, or I would even go and get on a train. Because once you're on a train, there's nothing else you can do except get the work done. I'd pay for a ticket and sit on a train for an hour and a half and go in one direction. And then I'd get off at the train station and an hour and a half back in the other direction. And I couldn't believe how much work I would get done in that time. Obviously, that's not going to work for everybody because we're always in different...
Because we have children.
Yeah, and sometimes we can't get out of the house. Like the ironing, you can't take the ironing with you on the train so that you can get the ironing done.
Does anyone iron these days except for me? Every time I talk to people, they look at me like I'm weird.
Really?
Yep, they don't iron.
Ah.
I couldn't survive without an iron.
And the last thing that I'm going to suggest is something that I learned years ago. Like when I was doing a psychology course, I reckon 20 years ago, they talked about how when you get the urge to do something, you just sort of ride the urge, but you don't actually indulge in it. So you say, I'm beginning to notice that I'm feeling like I should pull out my phone.
Wow, that's a really long sentence.
I know, but when you say that to yourself, you're sort of standing outside yourself. You're noticing the urge, but you don't pull the phone out. And then you make a commitment to yourself. You just say, if I still have that urge to pull out my phone in 10 minutes, then I'll give myself a break and I'll have a look at it. But right now, I'm going to just let the urge be there while I keep doing what I've committed to do. Focus on my child, cook the dinner, whatever the thing is. And 10 minutes later, you've usually forgotten because you become really involved and mindful and present in the thing that you're doing. So there are some ideas to help to minimize distractions. I hope they're useful. But really, the main take-home message from this Doctor's Desk episode is that attention spans are not shrinking. The difficulty that we have is that our environments are becoming more distracting. And if we improve our environments, we find that attention spans go way back up to where they should be, could be, would be if we'd let them.
I'm going back to my bubble.
Your bubble? What bubble?
Where there's no distractions.
Let me join you. I like bubbles. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides our additional research and admin support. If you'd like more info to make your family happier, visit us at happyfamilies.com.au.